We're in progress. Okay, so as we've been doing for pretty much every Wednesday for the last few months, minus a couple Wednesdays here and there, we're going through the Mike Ferry 21-point sales system, and we're up to point 20, which is systems, business systems. So one note is that point 21 in the sales process is personality styles. I've done personality styles a few classes recently, so I don't think I'm going to do personality styles next week. So if you're like, hey, point 21 is next Wednesday, I think I'm going to have a different class next Wednesday. You should still come. There will be something valuable. It just might not be point 21 in the Mike Ferry sales system because I've already done personality styles a couple times recently. Okay, so let's get on to point 20, business systems. Business systems. So I have a list of thoughts here regarding business systems. As always, they're not necessarily written in any particular order of importance. They're just written. You decide what's important to you. Some of this stuff you might have heard before. Some of it might be new. Some of it might be just hearing it a different way. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into this. Business system. So I wrote down here point number 1. Everything can be and should be systemized. Everything can be and should be systemized. In the year 2022, there is no excuse to not have a system for everything. This is not 1974 when you don't have the computers, you don't have the apps, the cell phones, you don't have all this technology, you don't have all these other resources. 2022, there's no reason not to have everything systemized. I wrote down here next, your life will be easier and your production will be higher once you accept the fact that systems can help you. Your life will be easier and your production will be higher once you accept the fact that systems can help you. And the next thought I wrote down here is remove the thought that it's overwhelming. Remove the thought that it's overwhelming. When you think about adding a system or adding a new technology or something new that's coming in or some changes to your business, can it seem overwhelming at times? Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it can seem overwhelming, especially if you're not very tech savvy. Okay. So if you're not really tech savvy, which includes me, okay, I am not very tech savvy. I can do the basics, but prime example, we had an issue with the numbers analyzer the other day, and Mike Doyle calls me and says, I got an issue with my numbers analyzer. One of the cells is not working, and I had nothing. Like, okay, sounds great, Mike. What do you want me to do about it? So I don't know. Luckily, I have people that know how to do these things. So when you're not super tech savvy, it can seem overwhelming, but you have to accept the fact it's not too overwhelming. It's not too overwhelming. If you accept the fact that it's not too overwhelming, you'll realize you can systemize everything. Why you don't systemize a lot of things is you think, oh my gosh, this is too much. I don't know how to do this. And then you just stop instead of just taking a deep breath and going, okay, what do I really need to do? And how can I get it fixed? How can I get it set up? Don't let the overwhelming stuff take over. So I wrote down here are some areas, and we'll dive into more specifics here, but here are some areas in your business that need to be systemized, that you need to have systems for. Okay, just some basics. I wrote down here, finding phone numbers. You need to have a system for finding phone numbers. Now, that could be you subscribe to one of the carriers like Arch, RedX, Vulcan 7, Cole, whatever the case may be. If you don't subscribe to places like that, what is your system for finding phone numbers to call? Okay, but you need to have a system. And then even when you have a system, how do you organize it? Well, I have a system. It gives me all the expireds. Okay, what radius? What range? How old? How new? Okay. I got a system for just listed phone numbers. How far? What's the radius? Has to be a system for it. Okay. I wrote down here, there has to be a system for working your past clients and centers of influence, also known as your database. What is your system for working your past clients and centers of influence? If nothing else gets through to you today, you have to set up a system to work your past client centers of influence. And if you don't have that, you need to set it up. And even if you do, I would challenge you to look at it to see how you can make it better. So let me give you an example. Okay, let me give you an example of a system to work your past client centers of influence. Get your past clients and centers of influence in a CRM. Pick a CRM, any CRM, literally any CRM. Part one of systemizing your database. I don't know anybody that Neil has interviewed in masterminds. I don't know anyone in our company that produces at a really high level that only uses an Excel spreadsheet. Not to say it's impossible, and some people might be on here that only use an Excel spreadsheet and are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not impossible. I don't know anyone that does it that way. Okay. I don't know anyone that just has stuff, you know, their database. Oh, all my contacts are in my phone. Okay. And where else? You need to pick a CRM. Just pick one. Now, I wrote down here under picking a CRM, you're not going to use all the technology anyways. Just pick one. Just pick one. And if you're with Century 21, you have no excuse because you get a CRM as part of your deal. You get Business Builder, which is a perfectly fine CRM. You don't pay any extra for it. And you also don't have any excuse if you're with our company not to have it set up because Jocelyn will actually upload your contacts into Business Builder. So you don't even have to meet us halfway. You have to meet us like a quarter of the way. Here's the CRM. Here's someone that will upload it for you. Meet us a quarter of the way. So part one of that would be get a CRM. Part two of that would be what's your contact situation with your past client centers of influence. Now, we always say email weekly, mail or hand deliver monthly, and call every 2 months. That's the basics. And you can alter that. Some people might be calling monthly, so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into why we do that, but I'm just giving you an example of a system. So systemize it. And then with the emails, to take it a step further, don't do a typed out email for all 250 people in your database. Systemize it to where an automatic email goes out every week, boom, 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 which we can also do for you in our company to take even that away from you. You'll notice that our company is pretty systemized. Okay, so working your database. I wrote down here, you need a system for listing property and servicing listings. Listing property and servicing listings. You need a system. How often do you contact the sellers to give them an update? When you list the property, what's the order of which you do things? Where does the paperwork go? Do you work with a TC? Do they do this? Does somebody upload stuff for you? What's the system? You need a system for transaction follow-up. You need a system for price reductions. You need a system for the hiring process. If you're going to hire staff, admin, anything like that. Okay. So you need systems for all this stuff in your business. You need a system for tracking your numbers, which is also pretty easy because you have a numbers analyzer. Everything can be and should be systemized. I'm giving you some examples because sometimes I feel like we just think, well, yeah, it's servicing listings. It's servicing listings. When you just have that mentality of, yeah, it's servicing listings, I know what I'm doing, and there's no system to it, there's no structure to it, it's probably not going to be done at the highest level. You need systems and structures to do it all at the highest level. Okay. I wrote down here, whoever you follow, whether it be a Mike Ferry, a Tom Ferry, a Brian Buffini, a Neil Schwartz, whoever you follow, they all offer a very specific, predictable, duplicatable sales system. We tend to lean more on the Mike Ferry one, okay, obviously. But whoever you're going to follow, use the system. It doesn't need to be modified, edited, or changed, just used. Well, I'm going to follow the Mike Ferry system. Okay, great. Follow the system. But I don't want to do this in the system. No. I'm going to follow the Tom Ferry system. Okay, great. Follow the system. But I don't want to do this in the system. No. I love Neil. I'm going to follow what Neil says. Okay, except for this. No. Doesn't need to be modified, edited, or changed. There's a specific, predictable, duplicatable sales system. Use it. Whichever one that you want to use. Okay. Systems require that you become very detailed and specific, which can be hard for some of us that are like expressives. But you need to have that set up in regards to your systems. Okay. I wrote down here next, your system creates business. When your systems are only in your head, you become the only asset in your business. Your system creates business. When your systems are only in your head, you become the only asset in your business. As you create the systems, write them down, creating an operating manual for your business. Now the systems create value and are an asset. Write the systems down, lay out the blueprint. Even if you're an individual agent, no team, no admin, nothing like that, run it as if you were running a business with an operating manual, an owner's manual on how to operate your business at the highest level, so that if somebody were to come in and take over and say, all right, I'm taking over your business, they could read the operating manual and say, I'm ready to go. That's how you should have your systems laid out, written down, step by step, on how you operate your business at a really high level. Or the opposite of that would be somebody coming in and say, okay, great, I'm going to take over your business. And you say, okay, great. And they say, well, what do I do? Just wing it. Make a couple phone calls, send a couple texts. If somebody's interested, yeah, just go with it. See what happens. Okay. That's not going to create any business for you. All right. So create an operating manual, an owner's manual for your business. I wrote down here, create checklists. By simply listing everything that you do when you take a listing or make a sale. So here's what I mean by create a checklist. I run into this sometimes. We do this in our own business, right? We have internal conversations about the company. And so let me give you an example. I'll give you an example about something internally, conversation we had the other day. So we have, whenever you take a listing, you send the listing to newlisting@century21masters.com. Okay. So the conversation was the other day was, okay, when an agent sends their listing to newlisting@century21masters.com, what happens to it? And, it's like, well, I get it. Cindy gets it, so we see what's coming in. Okay. How does it get to the transaction coordinator if it's being used? How does it get to the admin department so they can do their thing? And I really said, I don't know, it just does. It just does. I don't know. Though it comes in and Jesse gets it, and it just, the admin get it, it just does. Well, what do you mean? It just, where's the process here? So we had to really identify okay, when it comes in, who reviews it, who sends it out, what's, there's a system to it. Otherwise, what happens is that you run into a backlog of things happening, and then it's, well, I don't know. Do you know? Do you know? And then, boy, your customer service can go down. So it's the same thing with yours. You might say, well, yeah, I take a listing and then we have to do this. Well, write it all down. Just like a script. Because I've asked this question to agents before. And you might know everything that goes into it, but when I ask you, okay, you take a listing, so walk me through the next 10 steps. Well, I get that a lot. It's got to go in the MLS, and then it's like you have to think about it. You shouldn't have to think about it. There should just be a checklist of MLS, this, boom, 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 done. Don't create more work for your brain than you have to. Don't create more work for your brain than you have to. When you have a checklist, it eliminates the thinking involved in the process. I took a listing. Well, here's the checklist, done. I don't have to think about it. If I don't have the checklist, then I did the MLS, got the TC, got the photographer. I'm thinking about it. Don't make your brain do more work than it has to. Don't create more thinking than you have to. The brain can only operate at a high level for so much time throughout the day. The point of systems is to make sure your brain doesn't go into overload and shut down before your workday does. There are real articles about brain fatigue, real studies about how you only have so many good thoughts a day. You can only have so much going into the day. You have to limit that, and the systems can help you do that. Okay. Once you create the checklist, write it out, and then make sure you stand by it. But make sure everyone else involved in your transactions know the checklist. So you create a checklist. I take a listing. Here's a checklist of what has to happen in this order. If you have a TC, make sure your TC has that checklist. If you have an assistant, make sure they have the checklist. Make sure your title rep has it, your escrow person has it, your insurance person has it. Anyone that's helping you throughout the transaction, make sure they have the checklist so they're all aware of what's happening. You get a buyer into escrow. Here's the checklist. You get a buyer lead. Here's the checklist. Make sure your lender has it. Your TC has it. Make sure everyone has the checklist. It just creates easier flow throughout the transaction. Okay. Remember that having systems in place takes the stress out of the transaction and creates a better environment for your buyers and sellers. What's the #1 complaint that the NAR gets about real estate agents every year?
Not following up.
Not following up, lack of communication, right. Why do they want to be communicated with? Okay. Why do they want to be communicated with? They're not communicating with me enough. They want you to follow up with them. They want you to communicate with them because they don't know the next step in the process. They're not involved in real estate. So if you create a system that says, hey, look, you just got into escrow. Here's this step. Here's the checklist. Here's the step-by-step of what's going to happen. Here's the system that's in play of what's going to happen. They're not so worried about you following up all the time because they know where they're at in the process. A system would be giving them an automatic update whenever something happens in a transaction. Appraisals in, appraisal value, inspection schedule, like giving them an automated system. Having somebody reach out to them, whether it be even if it's a text message. But if you do that, They don't feel the stress. They don't feel, oh my gosh, what's next? So they don't have as much to complain about with you. But you have to remember, they want you to communicate because they don't know the next step in the process. Create a system so they know everything that's going on. This is also part of your system, is giving them access to the other people involved in the transaction. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the number to Mr. and Mrs. Title Rep. If you have a question on any of these topics, call them. Here's the number to so-and-so escrow officer. If you have a question on any of these topics, call them. Here's the number to X and X lender. If you have any questions on these topics, call them. That's a system. So it flows and works more beneficial for your clients, as opposed to, I have a lending question, let me call Robert. Now I have to answer. And if I don't answer, then I don't look good, because then I'm not communicating enough. If I had a system in place to where they would call the proper person with their question, it would make my life a lot easier. So have that as part of your system. Who do you call? Mr. or Mrs. Client. And what are the things that this person would cover? Because you don't want to just tell them, all right, if you have a title question, call the title rep. They don't know what the title question is or not. If you have an escrow question, call the escrow officer. They don't know. So give them the points. If it's regarding this, and this, that's your contact. That's a system. Okay. I wrote down here, constantly look for ways to improve your system by asking your clients for feedback on your system and asking your staff to critique your systems. Constantly look for ways to improve your system by asking your clients for feedback on your system and asking your staff to create your systems. Now, this is a really important part of improving your systems, okay, what I'm going to say next. You can sometimes improve your system and lower your customer service at the same time. Okay. Whoa, the hell is he talking about? Is everybody in the world super tech savvy? No. Some people are, but some people aren't. So you might improve your system by finding this really cool technology, but your clients don't know how to work that technology. So when you're improving your systems, you have to make sure that you're improving it not for your own self of like, oh my gosh, look at how this is going to automate out to my clients, and they're going to get this type of email with this link and this video and this, and oh my gosh, all they have to do is log into here. And it's like, this is fantastic. Look at this. I mean, they do all the artwork and everything. And then your client gets a link and they go, what the hell is this? I don't even know. I have to log in. I need a password. And we think, well, gosh, all you do is you log in and it's got step by step. Here's where you are. It's like the Domino's pizza thing. You know, your order's being made, your order's out for delivery. Like, I've got this. But your clients have to think of a login and password. And for some of them, that's just too much. So you have to be very careful in 2022 when you're upgrading your systems. Is there's an internal system that maybe I can figure out, right? Okay. But if it's something that's going out to my clients, I have to make sure that I'm sending something that they can understand, that they can open. Because the last thing you ever want to do is make someone feel dumb. Have you ever had a company or a person send you something or try to do something for you and you couldn't figure out the technology and you got frustrated? That ever happened before? Happened to me the other day. And so my response was, I decided to work with a different company. I'm not going to figure it out. I don't want to figure this out. And I'm not dumb. It's like, this is not worth my time for you to figure this out. Well, no, if you just, nah, I'm done. I'll go find somebody else. It's not worth my time. So you have to be very careful about that when you're upgrading your systems. You internally can upgrade whatever you want that you can use, your staff can use, that's fine. But when it comes to your clients, you have to be very careful about that. Okay, don't do anything that's going to make them feel dumb. Ideally, try not to have them too many logins, passwords, things like that. Okay, next point. This is very important in regards to systems. Systems and delegation go hand in hand. Systems and delegation go hand in hand. So here's a few thoughts on delegation. One, by delegating, you give yourself the gift of time. See, this is really the benefit of any system, is it creates more time for you. You have a system to where your emails go out automatically because you don't want to spend hours typing out emails to everybody. You have systems that remind you to call certain people so you don't have to try to remember and look at Post-it notes everywhere. By delegating, you give yourself the gift of time. That's the same type of thing. I have a system that when I need, this person does this person does that. It's delegated. I have more time. I wrote down here, delegation fosters team building. So if you have an admin, if you have a TC, if you have a staff of any kind, a buyer's agent or anything like that, it fosters team building. Delegating gives you the power to multiply yourself. Have you ever wished that there was more than one of you? Right? Gosh, if there was only another person. And then you know, if you're like me, there's a bunch of people that go, no, we don't need another. We're good. Just one's enough. One Robert's enough. We don't need more than one. Or like that movie Multiplicity. If you've never seen Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, that is just a fantastically great movie. I'm off track. All right, moving on. It allows you to multiply yourself by delegating because you can have little minions doing all this other work for you. You could do that. You could do that. I could do this. This is great. Okay. Delegation inspires motivation because others see that their opinion counts. It's amazing how good some people feel when they're able to help. When they're able to help, when they feel like they're a part of something. This is why I'd always say you should share your goals with your TC, with your title rep, with your escrow officer, with your lender. Share your goals with them because then they feel like they're a part of this whole journey with you. Delegation does the same thing. When you delegate, say, hey, help, can you figure this out? And they do it and you say, good job. It's like, all right, your opinion matters. Hey, what do you think of this? Help me figure this out. Makes people feel better. I wrote down here, sometimes being a professional means knowing when to delegate to another professional. Sometimes being a professional means knowing when to delegate to another professional. I get it. We are all the best at everything in the world. We're the best real estate agents. We're the best lenders, the best title reps. We're the best painters, the best contractors. We're the best at everything. Sometimes you have to know when to delegate to a professional. Get out of the equation. That is part of a system. So you need to spend some time figuring out the systems that you need to upgrade. So now let's jump into this. The question that I get, and I saw a couple times in the chat box, we talked about this earlier, is the overwhelming part of installing these systems. Okay. So here's what you do. Pick one thing and get it systemized at a time, and then go from there. Just one. Now, if it's me, I would say get your database in a CRM and then get it functioning in the CRM. But if you look at this and go, okay, well, I got to figure out where am I going to get the phone numbers? I got to get my database in the CRM. I got to get the automatic emails set up going on there. I got to get my title rep situated with that. I got to get a checklist of who does what. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. It's too much, too much, too much. How am I going to do all this? One thing at a time. Okay, I've decided on which CRM to use. Whichever one that may be, Business Builder, Lion's Desk, Top Producer, Follow Up Boss, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, great. Get your database in there. All right, my database is in the CRM. Okay, great. Organize it. Who's your A list? Who's your B list? Who's your C list? Right? Get all their contact information in there. Make sure you have the birthdays, the anniversaries of their closings. Make sure you have it. Get everything organized. Okay, great. So database is in there. Everything's organized. Okay, great. Set up an automatic email campaign. Now, here's the thing. If you don't know how to do anything, if you're with our company, we have somebody named Jocelyn that can help you with that. If you're not with our company, find somebody that can help you do that, whether it be someone in your company or an outside person, or contact the CRM directly, because they'll probably have some sort of training class or support that can help you do it. Don't go at it alone. It'll take you too long. You'll get frustrated and you won't do it. That's not a shot at you that you can't figure it out. You'll figure it out. You're smart enough to figure it out. It'll just take you too much time. So if you're with our company and you can't, and you don't know how to do it, get Jocelyn involved. If you're not with our company, find someone like Jocelyn or contact the CRM directly. Okay, great. So now I've got the automatic email set up. Great. All right. So I've got now I've got this all going on here. Okay, great. Now do you have a system to remind you to call them every 2 months? Okay, set the count, set the reminders. Okay, got it. So now it's like after a week, I've got the CRM with my database set up. Okay, what's the next system that I want to get? Well, I like that idea of giving the contact information for all the affiliates to the leads and a list of what they're all going to do. Okay, great. Then let's start with that. So start out with the list. Who are the affiliates? Who's the title rep? What's their name? What's their company? What's their phone number? What's their email? Who's the escrow officer? Who's the TC? Who's the assistant? Who's the lender? Who's the warranty person? You know, who's the insurance rep? Who are all these people? Write them all down, their companies, their names, their phone numbers, email addresses, and then start writing down. If you have a question regarding this topic, call this person. Okay, so, all right, well, title. Why would they need to call a title person? List the items. Meanwhile, your database system is running. Okay, you have everything in there. The emails are running. You're getting the reminders to call people. Now all you have to do is just make notes. So that's running. Now you have this going on, one at a time. Now, think of it this way. Is your plan to be in real estate? You don't have to answer this question, but think of this as mindset. Is my plan to be in real estate for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? If the answer is yes, and you think, okay, great. Well, then if all I did was work on one of these a week, and let's say it took me a year to get all these systems running. Okay, that's 1 year out of the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of your business. That's not a lot. And if you just worked on one thing a week, If you worked on one system a week, that would be 40 to 45 systems a year because you're going to take vacations and stuff like that. You probably don't need to set up 40 to 45 systems, but that's just doing one a week. That's how you deal with the overwhelming, one at a time. Give yourself time to set it up. If it takes a year, 2 years even, I think 2 years is a bit much, but if it takes a year to get your systems up and running, okay, great. So what? Stop trying to get them all set up tomorrow. Questions on what we went over today? Got it.
Hey, Robert.
Yes.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
All right. So I know setting up the system, applying some rules to how you set it up, like who goes in, who goes out, and also the content. I think it's not so much of setting up the system, it's like the content of what to send out. And, like everybody's being bombarded with a bunch of crap.
Sure.
And you don't want to keep dripping on crap. You know what I mean? So
I get it.
What's your thoughts, sir?
So good questions. So first question is who goes in, who goes out? So everyone, to start, get everybody in there. And then as you're organizing it, then you can decipher on, do I need this person in there or not? Now, there's a couple things you can do. Number one is Mike Ferry taught me this years ago. If you ever run by a name and go, oh God, I don't want to call them, get rid of them. You never want to make that face when you're going through your database. Okay. So get rid of that person out of your database. If you have no idea who they are, you could get rid of them. I would suggest giving them a phone call just to see if maybe you could strike some gold. And then if they say, who the hell is this? Don't call me anymore. Okay, then I'll get rid of them. But you could just say, I don't even know who this is. This is somebody I must have met doing something. Who knows how long ago? You can get rid of them. The database should be people that you know and they know you. So get rid of the people you don't know and or give them a call to see if you can strike something up. Now, who stays in there? Don't remove people just because you know they're never going to buy or sell real estate. We all know people like that. We all know the person that's never going to buy or sell a house. Doesn't mean that they don't know people. Always keep those people in there and give them the same level of treatment. So that's that. In terms of what to send on the emails, don't overthink it. They're probably not going to open it. So all you really need to send is find some real estate article and just put that in the body of the email. You set up a template. If you don't know how to do that, again, get with either the CRM or if our company, get with Jocelyn. She'll show you how to set up an email newsletter template that goes out every week. And all you do is you just paste the real estate article in that template. Find some real estate article. Could be about interest rates, home prices, what's going on in the area, new builds, construction. Doesn't really matter. Put that in there, send it out. They're probably not going to open it. If you get a 25% open rate, that's great. Okay. And so don't overthink that. And even if they do open it, the chances that they're going to read the entire article is even less. The key is that they see your name every week in an email to keep you top of mind, real estate related. So don't overthink the content. They're probably not going to open it. They're probably not going to read it. Just find some real estate article and send it to them. And then don't be upset when the open rates are low. Then they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't read it. All you're doing is keeping yourself top of mind.
Thank you.
One
other question about follow-up. Can I ask it?
Yep.
Okay. So if you have, say, a lead or just say something in your database, you contact them and, it's 3 months, you call them. Day one, they didn't pick. Of course, you left a message. How many times, or do you just leave a message and put it back on, the quarterly call again, or would you try the second time? What do you suggest?
I would just leave a message and then try again whenever my next time to call them was.
Got it.
That's what. Well, wait, hold on. Is it a lead or just a database call?
A database call. Lead
is then I would leave a message, and then 3 months later or whatever.
Hit them back. Yeah.
I would just
See,
call again, and I would just keep, if they never answer, I would just keep leaving a voicemail.
okay, that's why I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Every time, just keep leaving a voicemail. Somebody told me once that, because that just to wrap up that, and then we'll wrap up so we can get to our open mic stuff. Somebody had told me once that people only buy and sell real estate every 10 years sometimes, or it might only be on their mind every 10 years. So when they see us calling, they know we're going to talk about real estate and they don't have anything to say. So, but if we just keep leaving a voicemail, they keep hearing us, they keep hearing us. So then if anything happens or they have any questions, whenever they are ready, 7, 10, 15 years down the road, we're their agent. So always leave a voicemail for database, and don't ever because my mindset used to be, well, I've called these people like 10 times in the last couple of years. They never answer my phone call and never call me back. That used to be my mentality until someone had to explain it to me differently of like, yeah, well, they don't have anything to say to you. They're not interested in doing anything right now. What are they going to, hey, got your message. I'm not interested, but it's like, well, they're not going to make that call. So always leave that voicemail. All right. Very good. All right, everybody. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Get your system set up. Let us know if we can help in any particular